Hello folks and welcome. Zorin OS 16.2 Xfce Desktop. So as of May 4th, 2023, I am making a video here on Remote Sync or Rsync for new users. The other day, about a week ago, I believe, I made a video on Rsync. That's graphical Rsync. And you can use that also for personal backups, usually using one source to one destination at a time. Today I'm going to be talking about utilizing scripts to do multiple folders to multiple devices. And again, this is made for new users. So I'm going to be using three different type of devices: internal hard drive, external hard drive, and a USB stick. I'll show you how to write these scripts completely from scratch, how to make launchers if you're not too sure about how to do launchers. So I'll even show a simple one, how to make a launcher to do that. And then you can place that in the corner down here. That's actually really simple. You can do that in about 7 seconds. But I'll talk about the whole process either way. So this video is made for new users of Rsync. So Rsync is a wonderful tool for doing backups. So welcome folks. I am filming today in 1920 by 1080. I have the text inside of this terminal box enlarged. But more importantly, I just wanted to make mention of what I'm filming in today, 1920 by 1080. Now I will close this box. Again, this is the Xfce desktop for Zorin OS 16.2. Alt F4 to close. So I have two launchers sitting here. These are going to script files, and I'm going to run this one for you first, and it's going to copy several folders to several devices. So if you did not notice on my terminal screen, my username was Frank. Frank is just a made-up name. Frank has lots of little, well, files and folders. And it's got music, pictures, and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be using that as my demo files. And I'm going to be using script files that these are just pointers to these guys right here to make copies to go into these devices. So let me talk about these starting at the bottom for backup. This is an NVMe internally mounted hard drive or solid state drive. Non-removable, in other words, 1 terabyte. I'm going to use that as one of the examples. Then I have two USB. One is a hard drive, USB 3, 200 gig plus, and a USB 2 stick, 14 gig plus, as my examples today. Neither one of these contain files. This one has only one folder, which I'm going to leave. But I'm going to create new folders here using an automated method of writing script files and using that to back up things. And I'll explain all of this stuff as I move forward. So these script files are located right here. Anyways, I will explain how to do all of this from scratch, but I will need to make a couple of windows to let you see the action. So I'm going to use Control N to make extra boxes. And another one on the bottom here. And I'm sorry I can't make them all humongous for you because I'm trying to squeeze 4 things on one screen. More importantly, I'm going to run this launcher that points to this script here first. I'll explain what this is going to do. I'll explain what all of these lines mean. Don't let this overwhelm you. They're actually pretty simple, and you can even write simple scripts that only have a couple of lines also. So what this backup all is going to do is it's going to go, and let me make this one the backup device, the internal hard drive, and this will be the external drives, and call that one USB 1 and this one USB 2. This will be a USB stick, USB hard drive, and an internal hard drive. Also, let me just take out a couple seconds and explain maybe some tips on formatting and stuff like that. There's a lot of different programs or software you can use to format internal or external devices. External devices would be either USB drives or USB sticks, internal or usually hard drives. You can use gparted or GNOME Disk Utility as examples of formatting those kind of devices. When you format your devices, my suggestion is to not put any spaces in the names, especially when you're writing scripts. It makes it easier. And also the fact if you're using USB devices, if you're going to be using your USB hard drives or sticks on other type of computers like Microsoft Windows or maybe Apple Macs, then you may want to format these things with possibly FAT32, File Allocation Table 32. Most of your formatting tools nowadays support that. All right, that's if you're sharing files. That's what these are currently formatted with, USB 1 and 2. USB 2 is the slowest out of the three, and backup is the fastest. This is an internally mounted hard drive. I'm going to run this, and it's going to start creating folders. This is the only folder that I'm leaving. And I'm not going to mess with that because I need these files. But it's going to create new folders of using these statements here. And it's going to start the process by making folders here, here, and it's going to walk through making folders on the backup device with documents, music, and pictures here. And then it'll move over to USB 2 and make a document folder here. And then a USB 1 music folder. This was already created, by the way. And it's going to skip around a little bit based on the statements down here. Now, the reason I wrote this is to give you the idea that you can actually put these in order if you want, by your fastest device to the slowest, or if you're just using a single device. I did this out of order so you can see the folders populating at different times. But you can certainly sort these by changing the line orders, by copying and pasting things in here, or rewriting these if you want to do it that way. You can use copy and paste methods in here too. This is finished. So it's 3 folders here, 4 here, and 3 here. Remember, I started with demo files. The beauty of doing Rsync this way, or making backups using Rsync, what happens in most cases, you make a backup if you're doing a cut and paste method. So you grab a hold of your music folder, for instance, and right-click and copy it, or you drag it over and you already have one. It's going to complain, isn't it? And you have to answer all these silly questions. Do you want to skip them? You want to replace them? You want to rename them? That kind of thing. Well, Rsync takes some of that nonsense out of there. It actually, what it does is it goes after you make the initial backup. The cool thing about this is it will not, if I rerun this will have nothing to do. But if I make an alteration somewhere on these folders that I told it to copy, and they're not here, it will replicate them. If they're already here, keep in mind these are subfolders also. If these are already here and I didn't alter them, then it has nothing to do. If I change one file or add a folder and rerun this, it will replicate it and not the rest of them. Hopefully that made sense to you. So this script is doing a lot of work. This one, on the other hand, is not doing a lot of work. It's only doing work for USB 1 and 2 as examples here based on the tail end of these things. I'll show you how to write these completely from scratch, but I'm going to first give you a demo how useful this is. So USB 1 is over here, USB 2 is over here. I'm just using the folder names. And then I'm going to walk over to Frank's home folder and walk over here, and we're going to grab a document and alter it. But before I do that, I'm going to open up documents on the backup unit, the one I just made backups, and open it here, here, and here. So I'm going to take this file and I'm going to alter it. I want you to see what that file looks like on all 3 of these before I start. It just starts out with this silly statement that says basic fat burning soap. It's a recipe my wife found many years ago. All right, and the same thing goes with that because these are all the same files. The cool thing about using Rsync the second time around, it doesn't have to duplicate all these files, but it does look at them and verifies that whatever backup devices you have, in my case 3, that it's the same. But what I'm going to do to this file, because this is in Frank's document script, sorry, Frank documents, let me just go back in here for a second and reopen that, let you see the path. It was just remnants from the previous. But anyways, I'm going to open this file here. It's already open. And then I'm going to alter it by hitting an extra line and putting the word test in here on purpose. Just so I made a change. So I'm going to write test on line 1 and leave line 2 alone and hit save. Okay, and I'm going to close that. Let's look at this. This only says on line 1 basic fat burning blah blah blah. And this one, it says test for line 1. So if I rerun this thing, it's going to go through the whole, it's going to go through this whole list to verify that if you have any changes. And it's going to find only one. And that was in the document folder, a text. It's going to do it here, here, and here. So rsync line 8, 5, and 2 are going to be altered. Not the lines, the contents. And all you're going to see on the screen here is a blink. It's finished. Let me verify that with you. There's test right there. Test right there. Test right there. Now how does it know how to do this? All right, so every file and folder has properties on it, and it has additional information you may not be aware of. So Rsync looks at all that information on your file and compares it to your backup and the source. So Rsync is going to sync up the difference. So because I changed that file, it's going to sync it up because it's not the same as this one. But it doesn't need to sync up anything else. So that makes Rsync faster the second time around. The initial backup takes the longest. After you do your backup, this becomes faster because it doesn't have to recreate all the folders and subfolders in here. Keep in mind, this has music in it. So let me show you another example of something like that. So I'm going to open up the music folder. So there's only 4 folders here. That's on backup, the internal hard drive in other words. And there's music on the USB 1 device and USB 2. Then I'm going to walk over to Frank's folder, and then I'm going to open up music here. And I'm going to actually create a folder. So let's say you did a backup, and this is a week later, 2 days later, 2 hours later. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to add a Hello World folder. Just pretend there's music in there. Okay, so these obviously don't have that currently because I haven't reran that script yet. As soon as I do, it's not going to re-replicate all of these. It's only going to find that this is the only change. And these I did not make changes to. So it won't have anything to do except to make that folder here, here, and here. Hello World, Hello World, Hello World. That's what makes Rsync faster the second time around. It didn't have to recreate the wheel. But it did go and verify. This script is very complex in essence. Not super complex, but it's complex enough where it has to go through several of these things to check, to verify that not only is the music folder up to sync, but also my pictures and documents at the same time to 3 different devices. This will be the one that slows everything down, my stick, because it's not as fast as the USB 3 or the internal hard drive. Would you like me to do one from scratch? I'll make an actual script showing you completely from scratch, and we're going to use the backup drive as our demo, and I'm going to close these boxes. Now that you understand you can do multiple devices using script files. I'll get into launchers in a minute because I'm going to actually show you how to make a shortcut of these things on your desktop, and you don't have to use launchers, or you can use launchers. 2 options for you. May I actually go and let's do downloads. Yeah, let's just do this one. I'll leave these folders currently. So walk over to your Zorin menu and type in the word text. You should have a text editor already installed. Don't use a word processor. Use a text editor. Text editors are used for not only writing text documents, but also writing script files and other stuff. All right. So the first line is going to start with what I call the bin bash statement. Let me show you how to write this completely from scratch and what you need to do to write a script. Again, this video is designed for folks that have never done this. So I'm using a standard keyboard, and my upper keyboard, numeric keyboard, I'm going to depress the shift and the number 3 to produce a pound symbol. Hopefully you can see this. It says pound, and then still holding the shift key, I'm going to press the 1, and it produces an exclamation point. Then I'm going to put the forward / in here, which is normally found near your enter key, and then BIN, and then another / bash. What does bash stand for? Born again shell, and then enter. So let me open up terminal just to give you the definition of bash, because it's not spelled the way you think it is. So I'm going to open up terminal, and I'm going to do an MAN, which is manual pages, bash. This gives me the definition of that. And let me blow up the text just slightly for you. Born again shell is what that stands for, bash. Born again shell. Okay, I'm going to hit Q and X. I'm going to just do an Alt F4 to close. All right, so that's bash, born again shell. So bin bash statement, if you can type that in, you're halfway there. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the rsync, remote sync statements. So rsync, I also do encourage that you look up online. You can also use terminal MAN rsync to find some of this information, if not all. If you don't like to look at terminal information, then go online and look at that yourself. But the rsync command line has a lot of options, and I'm only going to use one, and that's -A. But it's very powerful also. That is the archive. It can not only make files, but also folders and files. You saw that earlier. My script has nothing but -A commands in it. This one right here. There's nothing but that in here. -A's. I'm going to close that section off. All right, so this is my rsync statement, my first line of my bin bash script file or rsync file or backup file. However you want to term these things. It's still a text file currently. All right, so this is rsync space -alpha or A for the archive. Now we need a source, and we're going to use Frank's downloads for that source. So I'm going to open this up and just double click on the command line. So I'm not going to use home Frank downloads as I type. I'm going to do a little bit of cheating. I'm going to substitute Frank's home folder with a tilde. What is that? It looks like a squiggly worm or a line. The tilde is normally found left of your number 1 key on your upper row of your keyboard. You depress shift and that key produces that tilde symbol. Then put a / and now type in the name of the folder exactly the way it is. So it's an uppercase D for downloads. I'm going to double check the spelling. It looks nice. That now becomes my source. That is what I'm going to be copying. I'm going to be copying it over to this unit called backup, my internal backup drive. So what I'm going to do is click in here and take a look at what this thing is called. You can see the black box that says Media Frank Backup, and then you'll see brackets dev something something something. Don't worry about that part. This is the part that I need. I can hand type this in manually, or I can cheat and right click and copy that. And then click in here and paste. And then what I'm going to suggest is to remove that last / by hitting the back arrow key. And then I'm going to suggest that you take your arrow key and you back this all the way up to the download S, and then hit the delete key where that / butts right up against the S. This is very important. You don't want to leave the file this way. You want to only put 1 space between downloads and the next statement. 1 space and 1 space only, not 2. If you do this, this will fail. You want 1 space and 1 space only. If you don't put a space, the script file does not know where the folder name and subfolders end. So you need to discern that by hitting a space, only once. This is important. Now this has a source and destination. Again, it's Media Frank Backup, just like it is in here, and my backup device is spelled with uppercase letters. if you're going to hand type this in, be very careful. If your backup device for some reason is formatted with lowercase letters, that needs to be reflected in here. But since I did a copy and paste, I don't need to worry about that because that's exactly what the system is calling it. So I'm using that information. Let's move forward now. I have my rsync-a space tilde / downloads, my source, space / media / frank / backup, no /. Now I'm ready to save the file. And I'm going to put it in the same script folder. Do you need to put it in a script folder? No. You can make a folder and call it X if you like. You can also call these things anything you want. How about test 6? Save. Test 6 is almost ready to go, but not quite. So I'm going to close it. Why do I say almost? Because I need to do something with the file to make it work. It's currently still a text file. And this one here, if I right click on it, will have the permissions allow this to be run as a program, but this will not. So as soon as you create one of these manually, you need to check that and make sure that's checked. If it's not, it'll look like that. Just make sure that it's checked. Okay? Double check this. Make sure that's checked. All right? You can actually just go in here and verify that by just doing this. Toggle this on and off. Now let me talk about what these guys are. These are these are launchers that point to these scripts. And they point to them. I mean, they're just a shortcut, in other words. You can produce another shortcut also by right-clicking and send to, create link. And it'll just give you an arrow with no icon, no fancy icon. And it'll give it the same name as the script file. If this is all you need, then you're good to go. I'm going to run it by double-clicking it. And it just created the download folder with the subfolders. Okay? So far, so good? I'm going to delete that on purpose. Because what I'm going to do is write a launcher now for the same. And I'm going to delete the actual shortcut. So I'm going to right-click on my screen here. And I'm going to create one of these also as a bonus for you. It's a fully functional logout restart button. Some folks know how to do this rather easily, but I'm going to do one of these in 7 seconds or so. Right-click, create launcher, LOG. Pick the logout and hit this box here twice. Once, twice. You're done. There's your logout. Right-click, open with create launcher on panel. Now you got it in the corner. You can actually get rid of this or keep it. That's all up to you if you're going to do this. If you're going to do this. I find this convenient. Now I'm going to move on. Right click, create launcher, and let's call it the same thing as the script. Test 6. Comments are optional. Commands. Click, documents, script file. Again, it doesn't have to be in a folder called scripts. It can be named anything. Working directory I don't use. No icon. Pick an icon from the system or bring your own icons. You can even use silly stuff like image files. Okay? You can also bring in your own icons. Download those off the internet or make them yourself. So I'm going to just use that first icon. Again, these are just icons. I don't use any of these stuff, so I'm going to hit create and I'm done. So since I deleted that folder, I can run that. And there's downloads right there. Okay? Now the beauty of creating launchers like this is the fact that you can put different colors on them, and you can also rename them, and you don't have to call it the same as your script. I do recommend that you at least have some correlation, or at least put the in your comment box what that is. Okay, so you can edit the actual launcher and then put a comment. If you want. So now if I point to it, okay, so it says that is a download backup is the first line. Then the name is test 6. You see that right there? I can't point at the box at the same time, so sorry. All right, now that I created this, I'm going to alter this. But before I do that, I'm going to go to the backup folder and actually just do some house cleaning. I am going to delete all these. So it's So all I have is the demo files. Now I'm going to alter this script. I'm going to create a couple extra lines. You can do this yourself also. So I'm going to highlight that whole line, and I can use Control-C or right-click and hit copy, whichever you prefer. So I'm going to use keyboard commands from now on. So I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to hit Control-V for paste. Hit enter and Control-V, and then hit enter and Control-V. Now I just made 4 lines besides the bin bash. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the names. Before I do that, I want to pick some folders from Frank's. Let me move this down a little bit. So I need to pick some folders. Do I want to still use downloads? I could. Let's leave the first one alone. So the next one, I'm going to do my stuff. I'm going to delete and make sure that I have only one space there. Next. I'll do pictures on the next one. What if you spell that like that? That'll fail. It needs to be spelled exactly the same as in your system. One space and one space only. The last one I will do music. That's the biggest folder, I think. And then delete and one space. So it downloads my stuff, pictures, music, all go into backup. I could also alter this and put USB 1 or 2 in here too. Create more lines. Now I'm going to hit save. This is going to test 6. So that would be that script. I'm saving this one. Save and close. I'm not doing anything with the launcher, but I'm going to run the launcher, and what is it going to do now is not only do the backup, but it's going to do the other folders also. It's an untrusted launcher because I edited it earlier, marked it as executable. If I rerun this, it won't ask me that. The only reason it did that is because I edited the launcher and added the text in here that this is a download backup. If you recall when I did this, I added this comment. All right, that's why it's saying no trusted launcher. Watch what happens when I'm going to delete these on purpose again and rerun that. Now that I haven't edited anything, now it takes off. And all I did was alter the script file. I can alter them by deleting lines and adding lines. You can have as many of these as you want. You can also create extra scripts. You can also copy scripts and paste them and edit them and rename them. You can rename these things and edit them. I started with one script and added this one and added more lines. Whether you use launchers or shortcuts, it doesn't matter. So if I put shortcuts up all of these, they look like this. Sorry. All right. The only reason I chose launchers is because all of these look the same. Yes, they have different names on them. But if you want to get fancy, you can put icons with these things and also change the names. All right, but that's all up to you. So that's launchers and scripts. And keep in mind, it's anytime you alter files and you already have your backups here, it's not going to recreate the wheel. It's just going to make the changes. That's what makes Rsync fast when you're doing sync ups. On that note, folks, I will say thank you for watching and take care.